Hello everybody, this is Dr. Novak again. What I want to talk about today and in this video, I want to talk about the Goldfish aquarium. Now the Goldfish is one of those aquariums that uses a plenum with sand, and it's going on 2 years. In just a few months it's going to be over 2 years old. It's been running. And the goldfish are doing fine, not sick, not showing any signs of sickness or anything else. And if you remember, during one of my other videos, I put some gambusia that I got from Florida. Got them out of the wild. They're here by the thousands. And I put them in the tank with the goldfish. And I also added some Cory catfish, about 12 of them. And because it does stay warmer. So I'm able to add some tropical fish to the goldfish aquarium only because it's warmer. And in the wintertime, you can add a heater to it to keep the temperature at least in the 70s. So tropical fish would be just fine, even though it's out in the Lanai, because it's warm enough here in Florida. Really don't have to worry about that. But anyway, the tank, as far as like my other tanks go, it has more algae and stuff in it, but I believe that's all because of the sand. I believe that the sand is compacting. It's getting going on 2 years old. And I don't think that the whole thing, because I'm not really using plants, as some advocate that you should use plants. That's one of those tanks I don't use plants. And the plants that are in there, most of them just grew from me having maybe a little piece of plant left into the gravel that I mixed with the sand. But as far as algae goes, it's one of those things that, yes, it's there. And it's not like my other tanks where they're pretty clean of algae. That tank has always been one that I've been fighting with. So I did lessen the amount of light that is given to it by the amount of time that the tank is being illuminated. I'm going to see if that kind of helps with the algae problem. I've also tried with the plenum, with the bubbler, and I found out that it seems to do better if, because maybe of the sand itself, that I run the bubbler faster than slower. Because basically that tank, 90% of its substrate is sand, 60 pounds of sand. The other 10% is made up of the clay, what little kitty litter I put in there, and that little bit of aqua soil that I put in there. So I'd say that makes up 10%, 90% is all the sand and the gravel that I had in the antique aquarium that I mixed up with the sand. But that tank, to me, if you're looking for a tank that has zero algae problems, no. Rest of my tanks are doing great. Doing absolutely great. That is the tank I've been fighting with the algae. Anyway, there's one thing I want to show you, and this is something that I've had comments about and all, is the goldfish. Now, as you can see by the picture, the goldfish like to hide underneath the plants. Goldfish like to do two things that people have to get used to, and you may think your goldfish is sick, or you may think your goldfish has swim bladder problems, but they don't. Goldfish like to, like hamsters or gerbils, they like to sleep, and then they wake up, move around, and they like to sleep. And a lot of your goldfish are that way. The ranchus, your lineheads, your ryonkins, they all like to settle down and either hide their head underneath some plants to shelter them, or if they stay up at the top, they'll float at the top, and they're actually sleeping. Okay, this is a very common thing with fancy goldfish. And you do see fancy goldfish in tanks that literally have nothing in them. Well, goldfish prefer to have something for cover. So if you do have a goldfish tank, it's best to have at least something in there where they can go in and have some cover to sleep, almost like they make koi houses for ponds. And a koi house is nothing that looks like a Quonset hut made out of a black mesh, so the koi can go in there and get some cover from the sun and rest. Goldfish are the same way. They like to rest a lot during the day. And if you have a bare bottom tank or something like that, that's really not as good as a tank that maybe will have something, as you can see by the pictures I'm showing you, that they like to hide underneath the leaves of plants and just rest. The thing I found out is whether they're going to rest on top or bottom. And some people have said, oh, your goldfish seem to have swim bladder. Well, no, not. They don't have any swim bladder. I haven't had any swim bladder problems at all. They just like to rest either at the top or the bottom. And they're very active. One thing that I am a little amazed of when I put the gambusia in there, usually gambusia are fin dippers, but they haven't seemed to bother the goldfish one bit. So as the goldfish are resting, the gambusia doesn't seem to be interested in them and nipping up their fins or anything else. Now, I did put some mollies in there to see what would happen. And yes, the gambusia seem to want to go after the molly's tails and nip at them, but they're about the same size, okay, as the gambusia, the mollies are. But the goldfish, they're not even bothered. And another thing I found out with the gambusia in the tank with the goldfish, they seem to be a dinner fish. And all that means is that's a fish that's in the tank that may make another fish comfortable. So you'll have dinner fish in your tank, which will swim around, and that tells other fish that everything is safe. So I thought I would bring that up, that it seems like the goldfish are, well, a little more active because of that, because they see other fish in the tank that don't bother them, and they feel more comfortable. The goldfish will chase the gambusia for a dinner, which is kind of unusual because goldfish usually aren't that way, but I think because they're so small, the gambusia is, the goldfish, you can see they try to go after them, eat them. But gambusia are just too fast and too agile, so I haven't noticed any of them missing because the goldfish has been munching on one. But that's something else I noticed. So the gambusia is acting like a good dinner fish. It seems to be reacting on the goldfish to have them swim around. They also are competitive with food. I have changed their food to a very small food, the goldfish, an azu food. I will get more into that in another video. But I went to a very small food because the gambusia have very small mouths. So I went to a small food which you would feed to gambusia. You could feed it to guppies. And it seems like the goldfish are really accepting the smaller food a lot better than they accept the bigger food, because goldfish have a tendency to gulp down their food and to get air in their systems. So I noticed that this food that I've been feeding them pretty much falls to the bottom, so they can't go up to the top and be gulping in air as they're trying to get in the food. It's a very small grain of food, and that doesn't seem to bother them whether it's small grain or not. All they seem to do is just pick it off the plants if it lands on it, or go into the substrate and pick it up and spit it out, along with the cory cats come in as the, what can we see, the cleanup crew, the janitors, they come on in too as the food is settling on the bottom, and they're cleaning up the little bitty food. But I did notice that the goldfish seem to be better off with the smaller grain food than a larger food. So I'm just testing it out, and that's what it seems to be. But if you do have goldfish, sometimes it is better to have a dinner fish in there, unless you have a lot of fish, just to something that's not going to pick on them, just to keep them calm, which I have noticed that difference, and they're more active. Now, yes, they do sleep a lot, That doesn't mean they're doing bad, but even in a pond, if you have a big pond and you have goldfish in it, you will notice the goldfish may be on the bottom. They may be hiding in between pots to sleep during the day. And this is a very common thing to do. So don't be alarmed if your goldfish are sitting at the bottom. They're not very active. The reason is they're just sleeping. And of course, since they can't close their eyes, it's best if you put something in there that they can either go into or hide their head. I remember once we had a Great Dane, and he would hide his nose underneath the couch. You know, it's a big dog, things as big as a horse, and hide its nose underneath the couch. And I remember the vet said, even though its body is all sticking out, because it just feels more protected, comfortable, putting its nose underneath the couch than it does just exposed. And that's exactly what the goldfish are doing. So they just hide their head in some plants or something, keep the light off of them. And even when the lights aren't on, they do it. So it just makes the fish feel comfortable, even though the rest of their big body is hanging out. As long as their head is being hidden, it makes them feel comfortable to make things darker so they can rest. And I guess you have to look at goldfish as like a lot of our animals or pets. Like a hamster likes to sleep during the day. Yeah, you can wake it up and it will play, but basically at night it likes to come out. Goldfish like to sleep during the day several times a day, where you'll see them sleeping. If I approach the tank and they know I'm approaching, they'll hurry up and wake up and know that maybe food's coming. As long as you don't approach the tank, they'll stay calm and rest. So I didn't want those people who had goldfish thinking that, oh, there's something wrong with my goldfish because they're constantly laying at the bottom, or there's something wrong with my goldfish because they're floating at top. You really have to learn how to read goldfish to know, do you have a sick animal or don't you have a sick animal? Is the animal just relaxing? Or is the animal have a swim bladder problem where it really is floating at top or staying at the bottom, which sick goldfish will do. So it's just something you have to learn with experience, how to read your goldfish and know, are they doing bad or good? And sometimes adding a dither fish into the tank, maybe you don't want to, but that helps keep them active. As long as the dither fish that's in there is not a fish that's going to pick on them and can take the same environment. Like I said, the environment in that tank is good for the goldfish or tropical. And goldfish can take colder water, but if you do put tropical fish in there, they seem to want to take warmer water, and the goldfish can't. Goldfish can take very warm water, and they keep the substrate mixed up. So I thought I'd give you an up-to-date on that particular tank. Like I said, it will be going into its second year. The thing I did do is lessen the time that the lights are on, and I'm going to see if that helps the algae problem of the aquarium. Other than that, it's doing great. There's no diseases. There's no swim bladder problems with the goldfish or the gambusia. They seem to be getting along, with one not picking on the other, which I wanted to find out. So everything's going great. But I thought I'd tell you, goldfish lover up there, especially new people, they may see their goldfish constantly at the bottom. Don't worry. They're just resting. They're just sleeping. That's it. So that's it for this update. I thought it would be interesting. Another thing of it is that seed plant that I put into the aquarium, so far so good. The only thing I noticed with it, it can't take any kind of hydrogen peroxide. That seems to get into its cells and destroy the plant. Other than that, I'm not noticing the plant getting tall, lanky, long. Even though I have in one aquarium the plant growing with CO2, and in another aquarium I have it growing without CO2, to find out what really is going to happen to the plant. We'll find out. That's just a little update. So far, so good. Nothing going on with that. So I thought I'd give it a little update. That's it for this video. Until next time, this is Dr. Noah. Happy fish keeping. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel.